Hello and welcome everyone to Bortnik's YouTube channel in English. My name is James Talberg and I'm here again excited to be with my colleagues from the Institute of Politics, Ruslan Bortnik and Marina Cherenkova. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello, James.
Hello.
We're going to discuss today, as we're always doing, the political updates and what's happening around Ukraine. Most of the times we're summarizing weekly updates, but today I want to start not just with summarizing with weekly updates, but opening the discussion with understanding what is happening around the peaceful negotiations. I have watched yesterday the interview that Steve Witkoff gave to Tucker Carlson, as he was one of the first people that were appointed by the President Trump to talk with Russians. If I'm correct, he has also met in person with Vladimir Putin. I'm talking about Steve Witkoff. So a couple of things that caught my eye during that interview, and when Steve and Tucker were talking, is that Steve have said that we moved Russia in ways that no one thought is possible. It's not a direct quote, but approximate. In the last conversation, they have agreed on an energy infrastructure ceasefire. So the interview was given about 8 days ago, about a week ago, and the energy ceasefire was agreed on the 20th of March or so, about 2 weeks ago or a little bit earlier.
18 March.
18th of March. Since that official ceasefire that the Russian side have agreed, I have watched in the news that Russians have continued to strike. So, Ruslan, what is your perspective in regards to what Steve Witkoff is saying? Because he sounded very positive. He thinks that they have made a lot of progress, that the Russians have agreed to the ceasefire, but it was broken probably within days, and they continue to strike now, to my understanding, directly into the energy infrastructure.
I think this is the main politician's job to say and to look very positive, because if you are elected for some job, or you are appointed for some job by elected person, and you are very dependent on voters, on public opinion, you extremely needs to look very positive, to very successful. You, of course, you will describe every your step like a significant change and historical achievements, and so on, so on, so on. If we are talking about the energy ceasefire in Ukraine, both sides, Ukraine and Russia, now are claiming each other in broken this ceasefire. Russia made at least 4 or 5 statements about broken this ceasefire. Also, we saw a movie when the Sujas metrical station is firing, and Russia called Ukraine for this strike to this station. Ukraine called Russia to the fire on this station. Also, Ukraine is saying that Russia is continuing strikes on Ukrainian energy infrastructure, electricity infrastructure, and also on the place and enterprises which are taking the gas or oil from under the ground. But at the same time, it shows us very significant that there is no any trust between the sides. And the United States is out of this process. If we are talking about like a judge in this process, there is no United States in the role of arbiter or judge in this process, which could say you broke or just stop in this situation. There is no even the monitoring mission in this process for gathering the information. But it shows the lack of trust between the sides, and it shows that all the agreements which made, vocal agreements which made, because we have no any signed document, they are not fulfilling. But at the same time, to be honest, the level of strikes and the intensity of strikes on Ukraine and in Russia during last week and after the March 18 decreasing, and maybe it's some kind of influence on this situation.
Was that the right approach to start the peaceful negotiation, but trying to achieve the infrastructural energy ceasefire? Or you think they should have started from a different perspective when they came and said, we're going to try and solve this conflict?
Marina is also very experienced in such a way, but I will be very short. I think there is two main approaches for such problems. The first approach, we can call this approach indicative approach. When you are trying to resolve the small issues and go further to the bigger issues, you are trying to build the trust between the sides on this way. Of course, it's a long way, but it's the easiest way. You are able in a very short time to show some success in public because these small steps. But in the end, it will be very difficult, very long to achieve the general resolution and solution of the problem. And another problem approach is a so-called deduction approach, when you are trying to resolve the main issue at the beginning. For example, if you're trying to find some kind of geopolitical stability between the United States and Russia, and then smaller issues are resolving by themselves.
Absolutely.
And I think from diplomatic school, of course, the first approach from the small issues, from the building trust, is the most classical, it's most appreciating, and so on and so on. But from the perspective of Ukrainian-Russian conflict, which is going on more than 10 years, this approach is not working for nowadays. And I think quite another approach we need. We need to resolve the main issues, and then we will find the solutions for smaller issues.
Marina, there is something that I want to open up with you, because I think you're the right person to have this discussion with. During that interview, something that caught my ear as well, from one of the statements that Steve Witkoff has made, is that he's confident that the root cause of that conflict between Russia and Ukraine is the 5 provinces or the 5 states on the eastern south of Ukraine that the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, is after. The Donbas, Lugansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Crimea. So he thinks, if I understand his thought correctly, that Putin just wants to take back those provinces because they are pro-Russia. They mainly communicate in Russian. And if Russia will take those provinces or states, or in Ukraine they call them oblast, the war will end because Putin just wants those 5 states. Is that how? Well, first, I'm curious if Steve Witkoff actually means that and he actually views that way. And second, because you have a good understanding of that region, is that the case? Putin actually is just after those 5 provinces and the war will end once he's achieving a full control over them?
Thank you so much, James, for wonderful questions. Let me start from the slightly different perspective. What is the purpose of Steve Witkoff interview to Tucker Carlson? The purpose is to explain to United States average American, to prepare an average American to slightly different narratives as far as the war in Ukraine is concerned. We should not forget, as Ruslan correctly mentioned earlier, we should not forget that the war has been going on since 2014, and I am from Donbas region. I do understand a lot of small details, and you know, my favorite saying is devil is always in detail. From that perspective, the question is whether it is a clever step to start changing a narrative now. My answer would be yes, that is a very clever step. The second question is, whether I do believe that those 5 oblasts or regions could be a solution towards a deal making. No, because for Russia, the primary goal is absolutely different. We have to be emotionless when we're analyzing such long and very complicated war as Russian-Ukrainian war is. And that is something which Russia fights against, and that is something is a global West. But at this stage, there is no global West, as we understand, because the United States and Europe are not united anymore. So I will just reiterate myself. 5 oblasts will not bring a success. My understanding that Russian Federation is looking for something much more important and bigger, sanction, new architecture of security, sort of like it was done during the Soviet and the USA Cold War in Helsinki, towards mutual investments in Arctic, towards probably, I hate to say that, but that's the reality, towards division of their influence. And what Mr. Witkoff does, he prepares very accurately, very sincerely, and very wisely. He prepares Americans to understand that policy has changed already and there is no way back. So there is no any other way to come back to the past and to the international policy like it was with the Biden administration. That's my vision.
But what's concerning about it is that if Stephen Witkoff is trying to change the narrative that Russia is not fighting the West, Russia is just after the 5 oblasts, the 5 regions that Steve Witkoff mentioned that they were historically Russian and pro-Russian. If he's changing the narrative for the Americans in that direction, that would be only successful if Russians would also change their narrative and would also say we're not fighting the West anymore and we're legitimately only after these 5 regions. But if Russians will continue their direction or their path into we're fighting the West and we're trying to change the security of the geopolitical situation in Europe, United States is not going to bring peace or a final resolution to that conflict because they're focused on a smaller case solution versus the Russia will remain on the railways that they're going after changing the geopolitical security situation in Europe. What do you think about that, Marina? Is that the perspective that we're getting out of it, or I'm missing something in those calculations?
No, you're not missing something. That's the problem is with me. I'm looking on all that new developments from the different perspective. I'm sorry. The war has been going on for more than a decade. European diplomacy tried to solve that, and there will not even a hint on success, right?
Yeah.
And we can, of course, we can judge, we can criticize Americans now, and especially either envoys or mediators. But even that small ceasefire, which, as Ruslan mentioned earlier, decrease shelling on both sides, from my perspective, is a success. And you know why? Because Ruslan and I, we were under shelling. We understand how important is that. To be absolutely earnest with you, I would like to say the following. We have huge expectations towards the United States. We hope that the United States can fix that problem very quickly and easily, but that is not the case. The problem or the issue is with us. It's our great expectations. There is less than 100 days since negotiations or contacts between Russian administration and the United States administration have started. It's too early. I just do not believe in quick wins. If we are talking about hot war, which has been on for 12 years, right? It's about 12 years now.
Yeah.
No,
we have to be realistic, James. We have to be realistic.
I absolutely agree that it's still too short to make any resolutions, but at the same time, I'm still concerned about the narrative, because I'm absolutely in for a ceasefire, for an ultimate ceasefire. I do wish that Ukrainians will stop dying, the mobilization will end, and they will start living a peaceful life. I'm all for it, even if it's for a short period of time. But I'm still concerned not with that part. I'm all in for it, but just that this is potentially the end goal, just to freeze the conflict and make it like a little pause. Because one of the other things that Steve Witkoff has mentioned during that interview is that his ultimate goal, not his, but of the United States, is it's an ultimate 30-day ceasefire where they discuss a permanent ceasefire. What caught my ear is that they want to have a 30-day ceasefire when the goal of that ceasefire will be to discuss a permanent ceasefire. So he's not mentioning a permanent solution, or he's not mentioning an end peaceful plan, but during that ceasefire, the goal is to discuss a permanent ceasefire. And the problem, in my opinion, the way I look at it with a permanent ceasefire, that it is still a ceasefire. It is not a final peaceful resolution. Ruslan, what is your perspective in regards to a permanent ceasefire? Is that something that Ukraine will agree on? Is that something that Ukrainians want? Would they be happy and accept just a permanent ceasefire without an endful peaceful resolution?
Too many questions, and I'll try to be short as possible. And very, very, very hard questions for me and for Ukrainian society. I want to continue even Marina's logic in this situation. In this war, almost everything depends on not only for our expectations, Ukrainian expectations, but also from our opinion, from our the model which we are imagining now for the future of Ukraine. So the core of this war and the core of solution of this war in Ukrainian public opinion. Because if Ukrainian public opinion will be standing clearly for the peace will be. If the Ukrainian public opinion will be divided, that the situation will be in the hands of the elites, Ukrainian elites, or external elites, United States, Russian elites. If this Ukrainian public opinion will be for the war, no one will be able to stop this war. Because Ukrainian elites or every elites, nowadays president, future president, or just generals will lead society to the continuation of the war.
Because they will the public opinion.
Yeah. So very much depends on public opinion nowadays in Ukraine. Talking about Witkoff, I see this situation like a preparation of public opinion inside of United States to some kind of deal with Russia. Because if you are going to make some kind of deal and you have a partner, counterpart, which was blamed 1,000 times during previous years, which the reputation of which was like evil in the society, you need to neutralize this reputation. Because if you will make a deal with with a partner with such a reputation, the part of his reputation will be on your hand.
So will reflect on you.
And it was a kind of preparation for the possible deal, and also maybe there were some signals for Moscow that we are ready to find a new balance on Ukraine on these positions. We are recognizing your interest on 5 Ukrainian regions. We are understanding that these regions maybe have a lot of ties with your history, with your culture, and so on and so on. So we are ready to discuss, or maybe to accept even this your claims, this your position. Maybe it was some signals to Moscow. It's very important because of two very important news which we achieved last days. The first news that Putin proposed, suggested to make an international administration to govern Ukraine, to management Ukraine. It will be like an enterprise with from the different countries participation, which could manage the country. United States is against this idea because United States is going on to save the informal control over Ukraine, over the bigger part of Ukraine, also through the so-called mineral deal. It's additional question, but they are not going to share or divide Ukraine for the equal parts with Russia and something like this. So because Trump said that he is angry toward Putin, and United States is ready maybe in the future to make some additional secondary sanctions against Russia, because there is a geopolitical play between United States and Russia. It looks like United States suggested to Russia to make some proposition. You can take these 5 regions, okay, but we will take another part, the bigger part. Right. Yeah, Russia is not ready. Russia is saying, no, let's divide. Let's play this game together. Let's manage this country, these 2 lands together. And then Russia achieved a very strong signal again. Marina?
Anything that you think that is important to add in here?
No, I just would like to elaborate on the idea of managing Ukraine. I totally agree with Ruslan. That was a test, to observe how the United States would react on that. And Russia received a very clear message and reaction. And we should prepare ourselves for the next steps. Because that is a very alive geopolitical gaming. They are in the process, but they need each other at this stage because the United States of America needs any success, any loud and beautiful success story. We are moving towards 100 days of President Trump. That means it's going to be reporting towards the deal success, beautiful coal, beautiful sanctions, beautiful Canada, Greenland. A lot of something should be said in a very positive way. And Ukraine is one of the points in that list. So they will try to do their best. That's from my perspective.
Colleagues, just to try and give a time frame to that peaceful process, I think we were all fueled by Trump's statements that he's going to finish that war in 24 hours. We were also expecting to see some kind of a resolution with the new administration or a progressive approach to how to end this. But at this point, it looks like things are not as easy and not as fast as everybody assumed. Ruslan, in your opinion, what should we expect in terms of the time frame and results from the peaceful negotiations? How long it will take to formalize a proper ceasefire, at least a ceasefire, and how complicated it is to give a more realistic perspective to people who are following that situation?
I think the resolution of this situation, but not maybe the ending of the war, it could be a new escalation, we will see till the end of this year. Because it looks like the pressure on the Trump from liberal cycles, from liberal mass media, and these expectations, which we discussed before, are growing up. So he is not able just to forget this topic, or he is not able to take too much time for discussing this topic. So I think some kind of solutions or more clear future we will see in the next months. Until the end of this year, we'll exactly understand on which direction this situation is going on, to the new escalation with the United States participation in this war, or to the peace, some kind of peace. Trump, the problem with this war, it's not a problem, to be honest. It's not a problem of only United States-Russian relations. It's a problem of internal United States fight between the Republicans and Democrats. This problem of relations between the United States and liberal part of Europe. This is a part, maybe. Many people said that maybe it's a beginning of the new world war between the West and between this global South or the East. But maybe we have another explication of this situation. Maybe it's a beginning of the first world civilian war between the liberals and conservatives. And because this differences in this approach toward Ukraine between the liberals and conservatives around the world makes Ukrainian conflict and Ukrainian war extremely complicated, and the consequences of the peaceful or military resolution in this war will be also very global. There will be a significant influence in internal American situation, in internal European situation, in internal Russian, Chinese, and everything situation. So it's very difficult situation. But I think Trump has no unlimited time. He has maybe 6 months and maybe some more to make a final decision on the American policy toward this war till the end of his presidential term.
All right, colleagues, I think that should be enough for today, and we'll be back with more weekly updates about what's happening on the front line, what's happening in the Ukrainian politics in the next week. Thank you so much, colleagues, for all your insights and comments.
Thank you, James.
Guys, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to leave comments and questions if you have anything specific that you would like us to discuss. We would like to know that. Thank you again. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.